I started to get sick yesterday afternoon with type 1 diabetes. And getting sick on its own sucks. But when you have diabetes, on top of being sick, it's even that much more challenging. And there's a few reasons why I thought I would cover that in this video. So stay tuned. Sorry. So, first thing I do is I go out and buy a bunch of Canada Dry diet ginger ale. Doesn't really matter what kind of diet drink or fluid you drink, but number one, you have to stay hydrated. That really helps with blood sugar management and type 1 diabetes. The first thing I anticipate when I'm sick, the cold, and not sick day rules we're talking about, but in my 43 years with living with type 1 and helping my two type 1 kids with type 1 diabetes, I've learned a few things along the way. And the one thing is hydration. I drink a ton of diet ginger ale. That's just my thing. But you can drink tea with lemon, no honey. Blood sugars are stubborn enough when you're sick. But anyways, diet pop is my choice. Cheers. And the reason for that is twofold. When you're sick, your body tends to become dehydrated really quick. You typically have a fever. So your body's working overtime. You're sort of getting rid of more fluid naturally. I won't get into the details, but staying hydrated is also important because your blood sugars tend to run a little high when you're sick as well. So you end up becoming dehydrated through this diabetes, through urinating a lot. Anyways, I'm not going to turn this into a science lesson. So stay hydrated, folks. That's the number one thing you can do when you're getting a cold and feeling sick. I also anticipate insulin resistance. When you have a fever or when you're fighting an infection, your body has to work that much harder to keep its blood sugar down. And that's because of insulin resistance. And that's usually from stress hormones from being sick. When your body's fighting anything, whether it's a threat or it's a common cold, stress hormones kick in like cortisol, which I've talked about many times. And you basically require more insulin to have the same effect on blood sugar. So that's another thing to anticipate. And the silly thing is when you're sick, and I've experienced this all the time, is you tend to have less of an appetite. And you think, oh, I'm going to need less insulin. And that's not the case. When I was younger, I remember getting sick thinking, oh, I don't want to eat. And my mom, didn't give me as much insulin and I ended up going pretty high. I didn't go to the hospital, but I went a little higher than I should have. You actually require more insulin, up to 25, 30%. Everybody's diabetes is completely different, but insulin resistance is something that happens even with less of an appetite and less food intake. I typically do not reduce my insulin. I am on a pump right now, a Tandem T-Slim. So the pump clearly makes this big sick thing a lot easier. My basal rates do end up going higher, so the pump gives me more insulin automatically, which helps combat that insulin resistance and dehydration. I think the number 3 thing I do when I'm sick is I hit the grocery store. Oh, excuse me, this is gross. Can't believe I'm making a video. And I stock up on diet drinks, sugar-free jellos, things like that, and simple food choices. Things like soup. Soup is not great when I'm not sick. It's higher in sodium, but it's really good when you're sick. It's simple, easy to prepare. Doesn't take much thought because energy levels drop when you're sick, as you know, and you don't feel like doing much. So it's another thing I do. Today for lunch, I had a soup and a slice of multigrain toast, which I don't usually eat a lot of bread, but I just keep my meals simple when I'm not feeling well. Comfort food, sort of self-soothing kind of stuff. And I basically park my butt on my couch and binge watch, usually YouTube, actually. Anyway, those are 3 main things. Hydrate, stock up on fluids that you like. Number 2, expect insulin resistance and do not cut your insulin back because you're likely going to need more. And 3, keep your meals simple. That's it. Get lots of rest. I hope you don't get sick, but if you do, these are some tips for you. And anyways, this content's good. Hit the like button. Till next time. Bye.